Buddy, here is a quick video to show you a few options when creating discussions in Canvas. The first place to look in your Canvas course, on the left-hand side from your list of menu options, you'll find discussions. And if you open discussions, when you first build one, it's very simple. All you need to do is click on this red plus discussion button. And from here, I just start building what I want my discussion to look like. There are a lot of different options for actually creating these and coming up with some pretty creative ways to use them, both for remote students and potentially to combine them with in-person students, either synchronously or asynchronously. Since I'm a social studies teacher, I'll go with the most boring possible discussion, which is a Columbus debate. So I'm just going to type in when I create my discussion post. Here is my prompt. Here's what I want students to do. I want them to consider whether or not Columbus should be remembered as a hero or a villain. And they need to include a couple pieces of specific evidence, and then they need to respond to at least 2 other student posts. So that's what I'm directing students to do, and that's what they would see at the very beginning. Then down below, I can choose which sections do I want to post this to. And these are the sections in my Canvas course, so I can say I want all of my students in the 7-Elevens to see this. And this is a post just for them. Or I can show this to everyone. I want all of my students to see this discussion post. So then down below, I see these different options and for how I want to set this up for students to actually respond and what the requirements are and how I'm assessing it. So a couple of important ones to point out. One that I really like is this option that users must post before seeing replies. So in other words, they can't just go through and look at what other people are saying. They need to contribute on their own first. And once they've done that, once they've submitted a response, they'd be able to see what others are saying as well. So that's a pretty useful one for making sure that students are actually engaging and they're participating in the discussion on their own. Another one that might be very beneficial is grading. So you can make this a graded discussion. And there are some options for how you want to do that. So down below, you can choose how many points you want this to be worth. So you can make this worth 5 points. Just like any Canvas assignment, you can say, I want this to be a complete, incomplete grade. I want this to show up in the gradebook as points, whatever you want to do there. And then who you're assigning this to, and great. So you're making this as if it is a Canvas assignment. So once I do that, here we go. This is what students would see. This is the discussion that I want them to check out. When a student needs to reply, they would just click on this button down below to reply and start looking through. But one other thing that I think is really interesting, if you checked out the training for rubrics, you can add a rubric to a discussion right here. So just click on this button right here and click add rubric, and then I can find a rubric if I've already created one. And I could say, okay, I want to include the rubric for critiquing the reasoning of others. That's a rubric that I've already created, and this is going to load really slowly right now. That's fine. But I can add my rubric right here and use that through SpeedGrader to assess students on this discussion. So that's a really helpful thing. And again, with the rubric options, the same as you would see as if you were creating a rubric outside of a discussion. So there's a couple of things that you can do with that. If I realize, oh, I need to make a couple of changes, I can go back in and edit this discussion again. And another interesting feature that I think is kind of cool that kids might get into is kind of like a social media feature. So I can allow liking, so kids or the teacher can give a thumbs up for different responses or posts, and I can I can top sort them by posts that have the most likes. There's a lot of ways to be creative with discussions, but this is just a very basic overview for how to create a discussion, and then think about ways that you could use this in your course this year. Thanks.